What if I told you that's not the most wonderful time of the year? Amid lights and trees and reindeer and celebration, are the winter blues something that's real? And if so, who experiences it? And why this time of year? That's one of the ongoing debates about whether seasonal depression is a real thing and what causes it. And there's no one better to join us to talk about that than Jessica Mead. She joins us next to break down those questions and so much more. That's all coming up right here, right now. I'm Sam Chen, and this is Face the Issues. Good evening and welcome to Face the Issues. I'm Sam Chen. It's the most wonderful time of year for so many people across the country and the world, but for so many others, it's not. So what are the winter blues? Are they real? Do we really get more depressed during the winter? And why? We hear debates that it's because of the sun, it's because of the cold, it's because of this, that, or the other thing, but is this thing real? And if so, why does it happen? There's no one better to join us than counselor Jessica Mead. She's a friend of the program, and she joins us here tonight. Jess, welcome back to Face the Issues.
Thanks, I'm so happy to be here.
It's so good to have you back. I know you've been doing the rounds here at Lighthouse,
Yeah.
And so I'm just grateful that you are once again gracing our junior varsity show here compared to some of my friends like Joe and Jeff. It's so good to have you here. Let's just jump right into this. Yeah. Winter blues, right? We all hear it. Is it a real thing?
Absolutely.
And what is it? How would you define what winter blues are?
Oh, that's a great question. I think the winter blues, we hear them, seasonal depression. There's all kinds of names for it. But I think it's really just that feeling of being kind of down, maybe sad, maybe not, maybe more apathetic. Maybe just like, man, I can't get into the holiday spirit, or just kind of that low motivation kind of mood, I think is what people are often talking about.
Is it necessarily clinical? In the way, like depression can be clinical, right? Like it's like you have clinical depression. It doesn't mean that you never feel happy.
Right.
So is this something that's clinical? Is it a condition, or is it a feeling, or all of the above?
I think it could be all of the above. I think there's some people that would classify as clinically depressed, but I think for some people it's circumstantial. I think weather does play a role. I think there are a lot of things that factor into this idea of winter blues.
Okay. That's my next question. What triggers it? Like what? I mean, there are people who are depressed no matter what season it is, right? There's depression that's regardless, but if it's this seasonal kind of thing, why is it so much worse in the winter?
I think the lack of sunlight. I think it's when people slow down. We're so busy in the spring and the summer and into the fall. It's vacations, it's beach trips, it's gardening, it's doing all the things outside. And then all of a sudden the weather turns on us and we are inside and things just kind of inherently slow down. And for some people that's lovely. And for some people it gives them almost too much opportunity to be idle. And that tends to not be people's friend if there's other things under the surface that are a problem.
Sure. I used to say, working in politics, that most of my life was like 100 miles an hour, and that was intentional. So I never had to slow down and think about uncomfortable questions of purpose and life, and I hated that.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're forced to slow down, you can't really avoid the questions.
Right. And I think when we're talking about the holidays, those can be really difficult for people. If they've experienced loss at the holidays, it can almost be triggering to be like, oh, we're back here again. What's it going to be like this year? Or it's really missing people who for one reason or another, aren't going to be at the holiday festivities. And that can just be really sad for people.
There's a stereotype, I think, of people who struggle with loneliness at the holidays, of they don't have friends, no one's inviting them over. I mean, I'm assuming that's true, but is that all of it? Is that like the whole picture, or is there other contributions of the holidays that fill in this kind of loneliness during the season?
I think there's a lot of things to it. I think there are the stereotypical people. Like I think of people in nursing homes who might not have a lot of family visiting. Like I think of them as potentially feeling more lonely or just sad at the holidays because they miss having people around. But I think there's also an important distinction between feeling lonely and being alone.
Oh, okay.
Okay? And so you can still be lonely in a room of 100 people. And so I think it comes down to connection and what does your community look like and how are you connected to the outside world?
Yeah, and you could also be alone and not feel lonely.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that would prefer to be alone than
Yes.
in a room of 100 people.
Yes, I completely agree with that.
So, is it? I mean, you've answered this question of it's a real thing where the winter season triggers something. Is there a general sense that we see where as seasons move for people, let's say that are not clinically depressed, as the seasons move, as it gets to the winter, they become, to your point, more sluggish. Is that something that we see in general, or is it like those who are clinically depressed have it worse in the winters, or do we kind of see this movement in general among people?
I would say we see that a little bit in general. I think people who are already struggling with depression or depression-like symptoms, I think we might see it magnified a little bit more than in the general population.
Okay, that's fair. And this is like a odd question, so to speak. The holidays can bring a lot of this. You just mentioned that. Is there a difference between what we see during the holidays, or in your experience as a counselor, is there a difference between what you see brought on by the holidays, which I imagine would start earlier, potentially, November, versus when the holidays end, and then it's like we launch into early January? Is that, like, from what you've seen, is that a different kind of loneliness or sensation? It's a weird question, but it almost seems like you're triggered by two different things.
I think that's true. And I think for some people, the holidays, it gives them something to look forward to. And so it's like, okay, Christmas is coming, or Thanksgiving, whatever holiday we're talking about.
Right.
And so there's some anticipation and there's preparation and it keeps people busy. I actually think it gets potentially worse come January, where at least here where we live, it's much colder. It's just darker. It's just not a super nice place to be, and people are stuck inside.
Right. Yeah, and that's the interesting. Like, is it demographically based? Is it different? I mean, obviously, I know you do your work here, so this might not be a fair question, but would it be different in Florida? And then the other palliative, or the other corollary to this is, in Australia, it's Christmas now, but it's summer, and so is that I guess the question comes back to: do the holidays trigger this, or does the season trigger this, or is it for where we are in the northeast part of the United States? Is it a perfect storm that both are triggering it?
I think that's a fantastic question, and I wish I had a good answer. I don't know. In all honesty, I would say, just for the work that I do, it's pretty localized to the Northeast. I have colleagues in Florida that now I'm going to call after this and say, hey, tell me what you see as far as, these winter blues or the holiday blue or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, and we need to launch the show in Australia so we can have that conversation down there, as the seasons are shifted. Talk to me a little bit about when you have obviously, without disclosing anything confidential, when you have clients come in. You've mentioned a few of the different triggers, so things like sunlight, things like longer hours of darkness, things like the cold. What if you're somebody who every season you go, oh my goodness, I fall into this, I fall into this, I fall into this. What are the triggers you should look for as we start moving into that season?
It's a great question. So things like being more tired. Lack of motivation, where it's like, man, I just don't care. And I've seen this even in young people who are like, I don't have the motivation to do my homework.
You're not talking about your kids though, right? They're always on the ball, ready to do their homework.
Always. Things like maybe not even eating or sleeping well. There's some real physical things, but things like lack of enjoyment of things that you usually do enjoy. Lack of wanting to go out and do things, not necessarily social things. We have introverts and extroverts, but just kind of that idea of, man, I'm just not feeling myself. I think it's something to look into. I'm not saying you need counseling, but to do a self-reflection of what's happening here.
Do people immediately realize that it's a seasonal thing?
No.
Or what do we as people think it is?
I don't know what people think it is. Sometimes I think people just think it's who they are, and it's just part of their personality or their identity. And that's when I come in, if they come to my office and I'm like, well, tell me, you say that things are worse now than they were like in July. What do you think that is? Well, I just don't know. It happens every year. And then I stop and say like, okay, I'm always looking for patterns. Like this seems to be a pattern. Let's talk about some things that we can put into place to kind of mitigate how you're feeling, because they're real feelings,
Sure,
even if it's not
sure.
a clinical diagnosis.
Right.
If you feel that way, it's valid.
Yeah. What would be the difference between something that's a clinical diagnosis versus something that people feel? To your point, it's valid, but where did your profession draw the line between those two things?
So we have, diagnostic criteria
Okay.
for actual clinical depression. I think when we can stop and say, what's the severity? And that's sometimes where we are able to say, this is pretty severe. This is probably not seasonal.
Okay.
This is probably not like a temporary something happening. And then we have to look at things a little bit differently.
Okay, that makes sense. So, Jess, we're going to go to the break. When we come back, I want to talk about some solutions.
Sure.
Now that we've kind of identified some of the triggers,
Yeah.
let's look at solutions for both people who are going through winter blues, but also others who, in their community, what can be done. So,
Great.
all right, don't go away. We'll be right back.
Face the Issues is produced and recorded in the studios of Lighthouse TV. Positively different. Watch Lighthouse TV wherever you go. Available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. You can view our in-house studio productions on demand, or watch what's on the station right now with our 24/7 live stream. Search Lighthouse TV online on your streaming device, or go to our website for more information. Visit lighthousetv.org to stay connected. There you can find out what's currently on the air and coming up, how to watch in your area on cable, satellite, broadcast, or streaming devices. Watch past programs or our live stream. Follow us on social media and learn more about the station, our hosts, and our programming. Lighthouse TV, positively different.
Welcome back to Face the Issues. Jess, thanks again for being here. Let's talk solutions. Yeah. You talked earlier about things that trigger and what things that we should look for during this time of year. You also mentioned that there is a difference between the clinical side and the more you're feeling this and they're valid. And we talked about this idea that some people it's not a seasonal thing.
Right.
They may think it is, but it is something, a deeper problem that has been underlying, is always there.
Yeah.
So let's start just in general. When you
Yeah.
think about people who are sad or lonely in this time of the year, what do they need? Beyond, we'll say very generically, they need a friend, they need a check-in. But what are their needs?
Yeah. So it doesn't matter to me if we're talking at the very beginning of working with somebody, whether they are clinically depressed or it is a more seasonal pattern kind of thing, or even if it's just situational.
Okay.
Because what I'm going to tell them is validate their feelings, because it is real, but what are they doing to take care of themselves? And so what I often hear is people saying well, I'm not really eating. Well, if you're not taking care of the body that God has given you, your body is not going to help you in any way. And so I encourage people to make sure they're drinking enough water. And it sounds so silly, but most people don't. Drink enough water. Same, no judgment. Drink enough water. I want you to be eating at least 2 real meals a day.
Okay.
They don't have to be 4-course meals, but
Sure.
real food twice a day.
So not the granola bar.
Correct.
Okay.
Supplement with that. I don't care if you have that for one of them, but I want you to be eating something real. I want you to make sure that you are going to bed and trying to get sleep. And if you are not sleeping well, I want you to talk to your doctor. 4, put down your phone. And I will even say it that way. Put down your phone. Get your nose out of social media. Get your nose out of the news. And I want you to go outside and I want you to get sunshine and fresh air.
Okay.
And so there's memes and stuff out there that, humans are just houseplants,
Yep.
with emotions. We need sunlight and food and water and, it's amazing how many people kind of in their feelings, kind of that it falls by the wayside, even though they're, to us, sitting here now, it sounds pretty simple. And I say, be gentle to yourself, be kind to yourself, whatever word you want to use, because people are really hard on themselves. They'll heap the shame on themselves for not feeling well or for feeling like they should be doing more.
Yeah. So the social media stuff, we've talked about this before when you were here. So that's a huge important piece on its own. But some of the other stuff you brought up, at first glance, doesn't feel like it deals with the emotional. It's just, it's very much the physical. Right. Is this back to the idea that health is holistic? It's not.
Absolutely.
We don't just focus on the mental piece of it.
Correct. It's all interconnected.
Do people improve when they just take those first steps? When they start doing the physical stuff?
Sometimes.
Even if they don't, I'm sure they're sluggish about it, right? Like they don't necessarily want to.
Right.
But like, how much improvement do we get just from doing that?
I think that's where it comes into, like, are we dealing with a pattern or are we dealing with something clinical? The other thing, if any of my clients see this, they're gonna laugh. I say this all the time. I am not a doctor. However, there is research that says, one, go see your doctor. But two, vitamin D supplements, I will support that all day long. There's no harm in taking, a couple 100 milligrams, but you can get your levels tested. There is huge research that says that plays a role in our mood. And so I'm always like, I'm not a doctor, but have you tried? And some people do see some improvement, but there's usually heart issues too, whether it is just loneliness or it is grief or it's feelings of loss or any number of things that people are also dealing with. It's never just one thing. So you said heart issues is very low vitamin D is also very bad for the heart.
Correct. And so I thought for a moment, it's like,
I'm not a doctor, Sam.
Holiday season, would you give them the same advice if it's not like a winter? Like if somebody's coming to you, say this week, saying, "Hey, the holidays are coming up. I'm feeling this," versus in January, is it the same advice for them, or are their needs different during holiday season?
I would say it's the same, but when we come to the holidays, particularly if it's the first set of holidays after a major loss, sometimes we have to say, you know what? Maybe it's not the year to redo all your decorations. Maybe it's not the year to make 12 dozen different types of Christmas cookies. Maybe this is the year where you could just kind of slow down and you just do what you feel like you want to do. So throw out the obligations, because let's be honest, at the holidays, there tends to feel like there's a lot of obligation for things. Throw them out. That's, I think, being kind to yourself, where it's like, okay, what do I need in that moment? Now, we can't be completely hedonistic and say like, nope, I don't want to do any of that, and I don't care what anybody thinks. Like that's not what I'm saying. But just the idea of like, okay, do we need 3 courses for Christmas dinner? I mean, maybe, but maybe not. Do we need to go to the super, super crowded Christmas Eve service if that's anxiety provoking? I would venture to say not. And so it's taking stock of like, what do you need? What feels overwhelming? Because there are things we feel we don't have a choice about, but we actually do.
Help me understand the line here, because I go through this personally in my mind during Christmas season. Some are great and some are not so great. Some are just exhausting too. And I always get torn between, and I know a lot of people who get torn between this idea of what you just said of no, we just went through loss of a loved one, or this has just been an exhausting season. We're going to pump the brakes. We're not going to host this year. We're not. And then the other side of people who say, if I don't do those things, then I'm actually getting further into depression, or they feel they will. Like holding these traditions are the only things I have left. Is that a personality situation, or when do you advise someone to just take the breather, and when do you advise someone to say, no, hold on to these traditions, go do it, it's going to help you come through whatever it is you're coming through?
I think that's really based on the individual. And so if they say, I'm keeping everything the way it was when, so-and-so was here, this is really important to me, I will say, how can I support you in that? If they say, everybody else wants to keep things the same, and I don't want to do that, or I can't do that, then I say, okay, again, how can I support you? What is going to help you in this moment and in this season? What do you need? And again, not to be super self-centered, but helping people tap into what they need, helping them set healthy boundaries. That's huge at the holidays with family. To, hey, we're not coming Christmas morning because we're going to spend Christmas morning at home. And, maybe some people don't appreciate that. But it's setting those boundaries and saying, like, this is important to me, this is what I need.
I feel like it's a whole other episode. It's just how you deal with your family during the holidays and in election season. Let's talk about the community. How can given the needs, how can the community help people who are going through winter blues or people who feel lonely during the holidays? I mean, starting with how can you talked about how you can recognize it in yourself. How do you recognize it in someone else? And we always hear the stories of people who are too late, right? But like, how do we recognize in someone else that they're lonely or they're going through something in the holidays if they don't tell us?
Yeah, I think maybe it's going back to putting your phone down and pay attention to the people around you. And what does it mean if you're out to dinner and you see somebody by themselves, maybe looking kind of sad, for you to say, you know what, I'm going to pay for their meal, or I'm gonna just walk by and smile. I think people long for connection, all around. I think that's something we're missing, kind of in our culture today, is just that individual connection with people. But I think it's also for the people in our circles where it's like, that's weird. She hasn't wanted to come out at all. I wonder if everything's okay. And sometimes it's just asking, hey, is everything okay? And if they choose to not be honest, that's kind of their choice. But it doesn't hurt to ask people, like, hey, you seem a little off. Is everything all right? Are you feeling okay? Is there anything I can do to help? Or maybe it's inviting your neighbors who didn't have children or their family is far away, and it's like, hey, do you wanna come, and share a meal with us? Even if it's not on the holiday.
Sure.
Dropping off a plate of cookies. Hey, we were thinking about you. It's just paying attention.
It's great advice. So, Jess, thank you so much for joining us, for helping us through what is going to be a tough season for a lot of people.
I think so.
And I really appreciate your advice.
Yeah, thanks.
Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Watch Lighthouse TV wherever you go. Available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. You can view our in-house studio productions on demand or watch what's on the station right now with our 24/7 live stream. Search Lighthouse TV online on your streaming device or go to our website for more information. Visit lighthousetv.org to stay connected. There you can find out what's currently on the air and coming up, how to watch in your area on cable, satellite, broadcast, or streaming devices. Watch past programs or our live stream. Follow us on social media and learn more about the station, our hosts, and our programming. Lighthouse TV, positively different.
Welcome back to Face the Issues. Jess, thanks again for joining us. As you know, we'll always close out the segment trying to move beyond the talking points and getting our guests a little bit better. And so you are at Foundations Christian Counseling and some exciting life updates since you last joined us.
Yeah, it's been a little while. I've recently gotten as an LPC, a licensed professional counselor through the state of Pennsylvania.
Congratulations.
Very exciting. Long time coming. And I am now the Director of Ministry Partnerships at Foundations.
That's super exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Tell us about what that entails besides a lot of extra paperwork.
A lot of extra work. I get to be the one that talks with we have ministry partners. And what that means is they agree to partner with Foundations. It's often churches or other ministries, but we've had businesses and companies come in and do it too and say, hey, we actually really want to support our people and we're going to help pay. And so we're going to give you X number of dollars per month, per year to put toward our people receiving counseling. And so I help facilitate what that looks like, make new connections, and sometimes just troubleshoot and kind of lead a team of people who are also, helping us expand and getting more ministry partners on board.
Oh, that's exciting.
It is exciting.
That's exciting. Congratulations
Yeah.
on the extra paperwork on the new gig.
Yep. Thanks.
That's an interesting thing. More and more companies and business, I think, the mental health picture is becoming a bigger deal. Are you seeing growth in that space?
Huge.
As far as people that want to partner and give this gift, so to speak, to their employees?
Yes, huge. We have a business actually in Western New York right now, and they want to partner with us. This businessman wants to allow his people on company time to have a session, and he's going to pay for a certain number of sessions because he sees the need and he wants to take care of his people. So he's not a pastor, and we get a lot of pastors who are like, hey, we want to partner with you to support our people. But it's really exciting to hear business people say hey, we really want to take care, we want to be good stewards, and we want to bless our people to make sure that they are receiving the help that they need.
Yeah. And do you see it come from a place of genuine care or from a place of this creates more efficiency in the workplace, or a little bit of both?
I think in this case, this is a genuine care.
That's cool. Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one to come through.
Yeah, that is super cool to see that. This is I don't know if you ever get asked this, but in that world, you work at the center, everyone else around you at work is doing the same thing you're doing. How do you guys take care of your mental health during journeys like this? I'm assuming Foundations doesn't partner with Foundations, right? But
Not
how
really.
do you navigate? You guys are humans. I'm sure you go through Christmas rushes and maybe winter blues. How do you navigate all that?
So we call it supervision, and so everybody has a supervisor. Okay. It's one of the things. I'm one of the supervisors where we meet with the counselors individually. We're checking on their clinical cases, but we're also checking on them personally. How are you doing? Are you holding up? And how can I help? How can I pray for you? Yeah. Well, but it's hard. We're sometimes really bad about it, I'll be honest.
Sure.
It's kind of a running joke.
And I imagine it gets hard, just like everyone else during different seasons, it gets hard for you guys as well.
And it's hard when things are happening to multiple of you at a time. If there's a loss within the organization or there's organizational changes and everybody is like, this is hard. But knowing that you're not alone is really helpful.
Back to that main point.
Back to that point, yeah.
Jess, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks,
thank you so for helping shine some light into this. And I know this is going to be a benefit to a lot of people, so thank you.
Thank you.
That's our show for this evening. I want to thank Jessica Mead again for joining us. Such an important topic, and I appreciate her breaking it down. And thank you again for tuning in, and we hope to see you again right back here next week. Until then, my name is Sam Chen. On behalf of all of us here at Face the Issues, thank you. Good night.